In Vampire Survivors, I wouldn't say there's anything necessarily complex about the gameplay or the combat or anything per se. The complexity of this game comes more so from the weapons, the way they attack, the damage they do, and the way they level up. In this analysis, we're going to talk about the whip. The whip is literally the first weapon you get out of the 131 weapons in the game. The whip is also the base weapon of Antonio, the only character unlocked from the start of the game. At level 1, the whip has a base damage of 10, an area of effect of 1, a speed of 1, and an amount of 1. Amount means that this weapon shoots out one projectile at a time, and if timed correctly can hit multiple enemies. It shoots out in an arc in front of whichever direction the character is facing. At level 2, the whip doesn't gain anything as far as damage, area, or speed, but increases the amount of projectiles by 1. As you can see now, Antonio has 2 projectiles shooting out, one in front of him and one behind. This makes things a little bit easier when you're circling around enemies, because now you can hit the ones in front of you and the ones trying to come up on your rear. In Vampire Survivors, the torches and different fires that you see throughout the game usually provide some sort of power-up as far as money or health or experience. The whip is actually a very easy weapon to hit these with, because all you need to do is position yourself next to it and it's almost a sure hit. At level 3, the whip gets a base damage increase of 5 points. This can damage harder enemies and make it easier to get away from the smaller ones. At level 4, the base damage is kicked up by an additional 5 points and the base area of attack by 10%. At level 5, the whip gets another base damage bump of 5 points. The whip can also be found in treasure chests. At level 6, the whip gets a base damage boost of 5 points and also gets a base area of 10%. This will help when fighting hordes of enemies, because a bigger area of effect will attack more units at a time. At level 7, the whip gets yet another base damage boost of 5 points. At level 8, the whip gets a base damage boost of 5 points. This is the max level for the whip, making the final stats for the whip damage base 40, area 1.2, and the amount of projectiles is 2. From here, the whip can be evolved into another weapon. As you can see here, at max level, and with all the modifiers I picked up, the whip reached a damage level of 80.1 thousand and 81.9 damage per second. The Bloody Tear. This is the evolved form of the whip. Starting out, this weapon does a base damage of 40, an area of effect of 1.3, a speed of 1, and an amount of 2. There are no further evolutions for the whip, but there is a further evolution of the Bloody Tear. Since we're not doing the Bloody Tear, I'm not going to go into detail about that, but this is the evolved form of the whip. So, all in all, the whip may not look like a very powerful weapon from the start. Starts out with a very weak base damage, and it is the first weapon you get in the entire game. But after a lot of hard work and augments and everything moving forward in the game, after leveling it up and everything, it becomes very powerful. It is very limited by the area of effect, which is basically right in front of you and right behind you, but used in conjunction with things like garlic and crucifixes and the King James Bible and everything, it has the chance of being very powerful for getting out of tight situations. As you can see here with the new Bloody Tear and the damage it does, and the much bigger area of effect, it can mow through hordes like they're absolutely nothing. At this point, I wouldn't have any trouble getting past this level and moving on to the next one. that's basically the whip in a nutshell. I hope you enjoyed watching my video, and thank you very much.